Welcome back to Study Hall, where we supercharge our curiosity and
Yeah.
dive deep into topics that make you go, never thought about it that way. Today, we're rewinding the clock to explore the history of something we literally couldn't live without: electricity.
It's funny how we just flip a switch and poof, instant late Netflix, hot cup of coffee.
Right.
But rewind just a few generations and it's a completely different world.
Yeah.
We're talking pre-electrical grid, folks.
Okay, so paint me a picture.
Okay.
What was daily life like before this magical force was at everyone's fingertips?
Imagine a world illuminated by candles, oil lamps, and maybe gaslight if you were lucky enough to live in a city. Not only was it dim, but it was also incredibly dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
Fires were a constant threat.
So basically, sunset meant bedtime.
Pretty much. Most activities revolved around daylight.
Yeah.
Farmers worked until dusk families gathered around the hearth for warmth and meager light.
Right.
It's a far cry from our 24/7 always-on world.
And what about cooking? I can't imagine trying to whip up dinner over an open fire.
Cooking was a full-body workout. Chopping wood, stoking the fire, hauling heavy buckets of coal.
Oh, wow.
And forget about leftovers.
Yeah,
Without refrigeration, food spoilage was a constant concern.
right.
Salting, smoking, pickling, those weren't just trendy food techniques, they were essential for survival.
Makes you appreciate that little humming box in your kitchen.
Absolutely.
I also read about how laundry day was an epic event, not just a quick chore.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Heating water on a stove, scrubbing clothes on washboards, wringing everything out by hand.
Wow.
It was a physically demanding all-day affair.
Yeah.
And we haven't even touched on heating and cooling.
Right. No AC in the sweltering summer months.
Nope. People relied on hand fans finding shade and basically just enduring the heat.
Oh, my gosh.
Staying warm in winter meant huddling around inefficient fireplaces where most of the heat escaped up the chimney.
Wow.
It really puts our modern comforts into perspective, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So we've got this picture of daily life pre-electricity. But what about the bigger picture? How did this lack of power affect industries and work?
Well, imagine factories relying on steam engines or water wheels for power.
Okay.
Output was limited, conditions were dangerous, and the pace of work was dictated by these clunky, inefficient machines.
The sources mentioned child labor being even more prevalent back then.
That's right.
Yeah.
So much work relied on manual labor.
Right.
Tasks that we now automate with the flick of a switch required sheer manpower. It's a stark reminder of how electrification changed the nature of work itself.
Okay, so let's talk about how this electric revolution actually began. It
Yeah.
wasn't just a light switch moment, right?
Not at all. Bringing electricity to the masses was a complex journey with fierce rivalries, competing visions, and some fascinating characters.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the War of the Currents?
It rings a bell, but refresh my memory.
Oh.
This is the battle between Edison and Tesla, right?
Exactly. Thomas Edison, the famous inventor of the light bulb, was a staunch advocate for direct current DC electricity. His first power plant, Pearl Street Station, in 1882, illuminated a small section of Manhattan.
Wow.
A truly groundbreaking achievement.
That must have been mind-blowing at the time. But I understand DC power had some limitations.
You're right. Okay.
DC couldn't travel very far without significant power loss.
Right.
It would require a power plant every mile or so, which was costly and impractical for widespread electrification.
Yeah.
Enter Nikola Tesla, a brilliant inventor who championed alternating current AC electricity.
So why was AC the winning ticket? What made it superior to DC?
Think of DC power like a one-lane road and AC power like a multi-lane highway.
Okay.
AC can travel much farther with less energy loss, thanks to something called transformers, which can easily step up or down the voltage.
So it's more efficient and flexible.
Exactly.
No wonder AC ultimately won out. But our sources mentioned this War of the Currents got pretty heated.
Oh, it was a battle of epic proportions. Edison, determined to prove his point, went to some pretty shocking lengths.
Yeah. He publicly electrocuted animals to try and demonstrate the supposed dangers of AC power. Talk about a negative PR campaign.
Wow, that takes competitive marketing to a whole new level.
Yeah.
But thankfully, Tesla's vision prevailed.
Yes, the 1893 Chicago World's Fair became a pivotal moment.
Okay.
Tesla and his backer, George Westinghouse, illuminated the entire fairgrounds with AC power, a dazzling display that showcased its potential on a grand scale.
So that's the spark that ignited the widespread adoption of AC.
Exactly. People saw those brilliantly lit buildings and grasped the transformative power of electricity. It wasn't just about lights anymore, it was about powering entire cities' industries, a new way of life.
But even with AC winning the battle, I imagine building the grid itself came with its own set of hurdles.
You're absolutely right. Think about it procuring expensive materials like copper,
Uh-huh.
establishing standardization across different regions,
Yeah.
and the sheer logistical challenge of connecting vast areas. It was a monumental undertaking.
And I bet it wasn't cheap. Did everyone have access to this newfangled electric grid right away?
Not quite. Early electrification efforts focused on urban areas where population density made it more cost-effective.
Right.
Rural communities were often left in the dark, literally. It would take a concerted effort to bring the benefits of electricity to those underserved regions.
Yeah.
But we'll delve into that fascinating chapter of the story a little later.
Okay, so we've gone from flickering candles to the dawn of the electrical grid.
Right.
What were some of the initial tangible impacts people felt as this grid began to expand?
Well, cities were the first to experience the dramatic transformation.
Right.
Factories were early adopters, swapping out those bulky, inefficient steam engines for sleek electric motors.
Yeah.
Imagine the boost in productivity.
It's like trading in your old dial-up internet for high-speed broadband.
Exactly.
Everything gets faster, smoother, and you can do so much more.
Factories could operate 24/7 thanks to electric lighting,
Wow.
leading to increased output, but also, as you can imagine, longer working hours. It's a double-edged sword that continues to shape our relationship with work even today.
So the rhythm of life starts to change both at work and at home thanks to this constant source of power.
Absolutely. Stores stayed open. Later, cities became vibrant, illuminated hubs of activity.
Right.
And then there were those early appliances that started appearing in homes.
Yeah.
While expensive at first, they were truly game-changing, especially for women who typically bore the brunt of household labor.
Okay, tell me more about these early electric gadgets.
Yeah.
What were the big ones that started popping up in homes?
Well, the refrigerator was a true revolution. Imagine a world without one. People were reliant on ice deliveries and food preservation techniques like salting and smoking.
Now I'm picturing that iconic scene from Back to the Future where Marty opens the McFly family fridge and finds a giant block of ice.
Yeah.
But seriously, what a difference refrigeration made to food storage safety and even our diets.
Right. And then there were washing machines.
Oh, yeah.
No more back-breaking laundry days spent scrubbing on washboards.
Right.
Those early electric machines, even with their hand-cranked wringers, were seen as miraculous time savers.
I can definitely see the appeal. And let's not forget about the impact on cooking.
Absolutely. Electric stoves were a revelation.
Yeah.
Clean, efficient, and much safer than those old coal-burning behemoths. It's easy to forget how these innovations, which we take for granted today, were revolutionary in their time.
It's incredible to think about how each new invention rippled through society, changing not just how we did things, but how we lived our lives.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, was this electric revolution benefiting everyone equally?
That's a great question, and the answer, unfortunately, is no.
Right.
While wealthy urban households were eagerly embracing these new technologies, cost was a significant barrier for many.
Right.
And those in rural areas often lacked the infrastructure to even support these newfangled electric gadgets.
It sounds like a tale of two worlds emerging. The electrified city versus the still dark countryside.
Exactly.
That seems like a good place to pause and pick up the story in part 2 of our deep dive.
Absolutely. We'll explore how the benefits of electricity eventually reached those rural communities and the profound impact it had on their lives, their work, and the nation as a whole. It's fascinating how the story of electrification, it really underscores the interconnectedness of technology, society, and even politics.
Right. We left off talking about this growing divide between the electrified city and the, shall we say, less illuminated countryside.
Right.
So how did the benefits of electricity finally reach those rural communities? It wasn't just a matter of flipping a switch, right?
You're absolutely right. It took a concerted effort, actually, a bit of a political and social movement to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
In the U.S., this movement culminated in the Rural Electrification Act of 1936, a truly transformative piece of legislation.
Okay, so for those of us who need a quick history refresher, what exactly was the Rural Electrification Act?
It was part of President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal program aimed at bringing electricity to rural America.
Okay.
You see, at the time, private power companies were hesitant to invest in rural areas. The costs were high, and the potential customer base was spread out, making it less profitable.
So the government stepped in to, Well, electrify the situation.
Precisely. The REA provided low-interest loans to cooperatives and municipalities,
Okay.
enabling them to build and operate their own power systems.
Right.
This spurred a wave of rural electrification projects across the country.
It must have been a game changer for those rural families. Finally having electric lights running water thanks to electric pumps and those labor-saving appliances that urban folks were already enjoying.
It was like stepping into the future.
Yeah.
And not just for convenience's sake.
Right.
The REA had a profound impact on agriculture, transforming it from a labor-intensive industry into a more modern and efficient one.
Speaking of agriculture, our sources highlight how electricity revolutionized farming practices. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. Think about irrigation.
Okay.
Electric pumps meant farmers were no longer at the mercy of rainfall. They could cultivate crops in areas that were previously too dry and increase yields overall. This had a ripple effect on food production and even national food security.
So it wasn't just about making life easier, it was about boosting productivity and literally feeding the nation.
Exactly, and the innovations didn't stop there.
Right.
Electric milking machines transformed dairy farms, allowing farmers to manage larger herds and boost milk production while reducing the need for manual labor.
It sounds like electricity was a win-win for both farmers and consumers, leading to higher yields, lower costs, and less backbreaking work.
You're getting the picture.
Yeah.
And then there was the impact of refrigeration on the food supply chain.
Right.
Refrigerated trucks and trains could transport perishable goods, further connecting rural producers to wider markets and reducing food spoilage along the way.
It's incredible how electricity touched every stage of the process from farm to table.
It really highlights how seemingly simple innovations can have far-reaching consequences, reshaping entire industries and the lives of millions. But the ripple effects of rural electrification extended far beyond agriculture.
That's right. Our sources mention how it spurred a broader social and economic transformation in rural communities.
It's true.
Yeah.
The arrival of electricity brought not only modern comforts, but also new opportunities for education, healthcare, and even entrepreneurship. Schools could extend their hours, libraries could stay open later, and businesses could operate more efficiently.
It's like electricity sparked a renaissance in those rural areas.
Exactly. And for the first time, many rural communities felt truly connected to the rest of the country, not only through physical infrastructure, but also through access to information and entertainment thanks to radio broadcasts and eventually television.
It sounds like rural electrification was about much more than just bringing power to the countryside. It was about empowering those communities, giving them the tools to thrive in a rapidly changing world.
You've hit the nail on the head. But as we know, every technological advancement comes with its own set of challenges and unintended consequences.
Okay, so what were some of the downsides to this electric revolution?
Well, for starters, while electrification created new jobs in manufacturing, construction, and maintenance, it also led to the decline of traditional rural industries and a shift away from small-scale farming.
Right.
This caused economic disruption and forced many people to migrate to urban areas in search of work.
So it's the classic tale of progress, bringing both benefits and challenges, disrupting traditional ways of life while opening up new possibilities.
Exactly. And as we moved further into the 20th century, the reliance on electricity only grew along with concerns about its environmental impact. But that's a discussion for another deep dive, perhaps one focusing on renewable energy and the quest for a sustainable future.
That's definitely a topic for our future selves to tackle. But for now, let's shift gears and explore how electrification transformed other aspects of life beyond the home and the farm.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Well, our sources talk about how electricity revolutionized transportation. Let's dive into that world of electric streetcars, subways, and the dawn of a new era of mobility.
Okay, so picture the cities choked with horse-drawn carriages.
Right.
The streets noisy, congested, and, well, a bit fragrant. Then along come these sleek electric streetcars gliding effortlessly along their tracks. What a game changer.
I bet it felt like riding into the future. Cleaner, faster, more efficient. It's no wonder electric streetcars quickly became the go-to mode of urban transport.
Absolutely.
And then there were the subways taking those bustling commutes underground.
Right.
Imagine the impact on urban planning cities could grow upwards and outwards, unconstrained by surface-level traffic.
Those early subway systems must have been engineering marvels.
They were.
And it wasn't just about getting around town, it was about connecting people to jobs opportunities and each other.
You're right. Electric trains, both urban and inner city, opened up possibilities for travel and commerce that were previously unimaginable.
Wow.
People could commute to work from farther distances, Businesses could transport goods more efficiently, and tourism flourished as people could explore new destinations with ease.
It's amazing to think about how electricity literally reshaped the landscape of our cities and redefined how we move. It's a testament to human ingenuity and our persistent drive to overcome limitations. But let's not forget the impact of electricity on another crucial aspect of modern life: healthcare.
Our sources mention that hospitals were among the early adopters of electric technologies. What prompted that?
Well, imagine trying to perform surgery under the flickering light of gas lamps or candles. Electric lighting was a huge improvement, making hospitals safer for both patients and medical staff.
It seems like a no-brainer: brighter, safer, more reliable. What's not to love?
Exactly. And electric lighting was just the beginning.
Yeah.
Our sources describe how electricity led to all sorts of incredible medical advancements. X-ray machines allowed doctors to peer inside the human body without invasive procedures. Electric surgical tools improved precision and reduced the risk of infection.
It's fascinating how something as seemingly simple as electric power could lead to such profound breakthroughs in medicine.
It's a great example of how technology often builds upon itself, each innovation paving the way for the next. And let's not forget about the role of refrigeration in healthcare.
Right. Being able to store medicines and blood safely was a game changer.
It was.
Our sources mention how this led to advancements in vaccine development and blood transfusions, even paving the way for organ transplantation down the line.
It's amazing to think how something as basic as keeping things cold could have such a profound impact on healthcare and ultimately save countless lives.
It really highlights the interconnectedness of these innovations. But speaking of connections, electricity didn't just transform healthcare, it also revolutionized the way we learn and access information.
Absolutely.
Right?
Education was another area that saw a dramatic shift thanks to electricity.
Okay.
No more students hunched over dimly lit books.
Yeah.
Electric lighting extended study hours, making it easier for people of all ages to learn.
And I imagine those rural communities who finally got electricity saw a huge difference in their schools and libraries.
Absolutely. Kids could finally study at night, libraries could stay open later, and access to educational resources expanded dramatically. It was a true equalizer, leveling the playing field for rural students.
And what about the educational technologies that electricity made possible?
Well, think about it. Radio broadcasts brought lessons and lectures to remote areas.
Okay.
Early films were shown in classrooms, exposing students to new worlds and ideas.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how quickly electricity became intertwined with education.
Those early innovations laid the groundwork for the digital learning tools we have today, didn't they?
You're absolutely right. Imagine a world without online courses, virtual libraries, educational apps. It's almost impossible to fathom. But as we've seen throughout this deep dive, the story of electricity is a story of constant evolution, of pushing boundaries, and finding new ways to harness this incredible force.
It's clear that electricity has touched every aspect of our lives, from the way we work and travel to the way we learn and receive healthcare. It's a truly powerful force, both literally and figuratively.
It's a testament to human ingenuity and our constant drive to improve. But as with any powerful force, it comes with responsibilities. As we move further into the 21st century, the question becomes, how do we harness the power of electricity in a way that is both sustainable and equitable? It really is remarkable how electricity has become so ingrained in every facet of modern life. We just take it for granted, don't we?
Absolutely. But this deep dive has made me realize just how recent and transformative this electric revolution really was. It wasn't that long ago that people were living in a completely different world, one without all these electric conveniences we rely on today.
You're right. It's easy to forget that. But as we've discussed, the story of electricity is still being written. There's so much more to explore, especially when it comes to the future of energy.
Speaking of the future, we touched on some of the challenges and possibilities in the previous parts. What are some of the key things you think we should be focusing on as we move forward?
Well, I think sustainability is paramount. We need to transition away from fossil fuels and embrace cleaner, more renewable sources of energy.
That seems like a no-brainer. But as we've learned, it's not just a matter of flipping a switch. There are a lot of complex factors to consider.
Exactly. We need to invest in the infrastructure to support these renewable sources like solar, wind, and hydro. And we need to develop better ways to store that energy so it's available when we need it, even when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing.
So battery technology is going to be crucial.
Absolutely. Batteries are going to play a huge role in the transition to a more sustainable energy future. We need batteries that are more efficient, more affordable, and longer lasting.
It sounds like a tall order. What about other innovations? Are there any exciting developments on the horizon that you're particularly excited about?
Oh, there's a lot to be optimistic about. Scientists are exploring all sorts of fascinating possibilities like wireless power transmission, even beaming energy from space.
Wow, beaming energy from space. That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But it's a real area of research, and it has the potential to revolutionize how we access and distribute energy.
It's mind-boggling to think about the possibilities. But as we delve into these futuristic concepts, it's important to remember that the choices we make today will have a profound impact on the future of energy.
You're absolutely right. We need to be mindful of the environmental impact of our energy consumption and strive to make sustainable choices.
It's a collective effort, isn't it? It's not just about scientists and engineers coming up with new technologies. It's about all of us making conscious decisions in our daily lives to reduce our energy consumption and support sustainable practices.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's about individuals, communities, businesses, and governments working together to create a more sustainable future.
It's a reminder that we're all part of this story, this ongoing quest to harness the power of electricity in a way that benefits both humanity and the planet. And as we've learned throughout this deep dive, the story of electricity is far from over. The next chapter is still being written, and who knows what electrifying possibilities lie ahead.
It's an exciting time to be alive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it's a privilege to be able to share these stories of innovation, discovery, and the enduring power of human ingenuity with our listeners.
Well said. To our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this electrifying journey through time. We hope you've enjoyed the ride as much as we have.
We've explored the past, pondered the present, and even glimpsed into the future of electricity. But the most important takeaway is this: curiosity is the spark that ignites learning and discovery. So stay curious, stay engaged, and keep those mental lights shining bright. Until next time, farewell from Study Hall.